All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. Here's Franklin here. Just wanted to hang with y'all. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Put on your notification buttons. Today we're going to talk about the Pete arbitration and possible extension and a couple other things. But before we get into it, Victor, how you doing?
Good, good. There's not much going on right now besides the Pete talk and the teams making moves here and there. But let's talk about some of the things that are going on. Pete signed an arbitration deal worth $20.5 million to kind of keep both sides happy um, until basically next season, because like we talked about before, it doesn't seem like he's going to sign an extension this season. He's probably going to wait out until free agency, and test the market. And if this is the type of deal that we're looking at, 20.5 million, we're just, I think, looking at the years. But that's, I don't know. There's not much to say on that, except my thoughts are it's kind of less likely that we're going to sign an extension based on this arbitration deal, because I feel like if we were to sign an extension this year, we would have done it. We wouldn't have had to have this arbitration deal in between that. So that's just my thought. We're just gonna have to wait out until next season to see what's going on, and that's a scary thought too, because obviously there's talks about with the fans and with everybody in baseball about some of the moves that the Mets are going to make next year. Um, it, you know, it. I've even heard that it's either Soto or Pete, and most people want Soto. And so, I wish that we could get the deal done now. Honestly, in my opinion, I'd rather have Pete, but yeah, we're just gonna have to wait until next season to see what goes on with this Pete Alonso thing.
Well, I actually think the opposite. I think this opens up the door, because they had to take care of this first because this was right here, the hearings. They either had to decide to sign or go to hearings, and I don't think they wanted to go to hearings because they wanted to have that relationship there, right? They could have gone to hearings and tried to nickel and dime Pete for arbitration, but instead they kind of signed the deal. Probably a little bit closer to Pete's favor. Obviously, he signed, so he wasn't fighting it, and this kind of opens the door for continuous talk. We have until, well, he didn't set a deadline or anything, but this leaves the whole spring training and even before that, because we're about what a month, a little bit over a month away before pitchers and catchers report, and I think this opens the door. I think this opens the door for a potential Pete not going to free agency because he wants to be a Met. And yeah, I understand that whole thing about Soto. Some fans wanting Soto, and hey, I want Soto, but I don't think it's at the expense of Pete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Pete's the priority, regardless of what happens after we sign Pete. If we go after Soto too, fine. But I think Pete's the priority. I think Pete's proven that he can be a Met, be in New York. He loves the Mets, and I think this signing without kind of having to go arbitration or any type of nickel and diamond and stuff like that kind of shows to Pete that the Mets want him. And so, I think this opens the door, to be honest with you. That's my feelings. I think this kind of opens the door for a potential extension. But
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Well, he only wants to stay with the Mets to an extent, because Boris can only do so much. He's his agent, and he's going to work to get every dollar out of the team. But at the end of the day, he works for Pete. And if Pete wanted to stay in New York, he would be here. And he would have signed a long-term extension. I don't know if that's based on the negotiations that Stearns is having with him, and if he's not giving him the year amount, but obviously the dollar amount is there because this isn't a cheap deal. 20.5 million is a good deal for a catcher of his caliber. I mean, sorry, for a first baseman of his caliber. He's a power hitter. Obviously, he provides the home runs that the Mets need, and so that's why I say I would rather have him than Soto because that's what the Mets need is power, where they're not getting it from the rest of their lineup. We're hoping to see that from the young guys this year, but there's no guarantee. Pete's that guarantee. But with the years, I think is what Pete's negotiating right now, and if he can get that, then you know that'd be great. But I honestly don't think that. Yeah, I disagree with you on if this is like closer now that they're getting to a closer deal now because yeah, it just seems like Boris is going to tell him you're going to get that year amount in free agency, so just wait it out. And I don't know. I obviously I want him to sign it this season, but it just doesn't seem like a likely scenario for me.
Well, and that's a possibility. There's no guarantees, but this is a great chance for you guys to let me know how you guys feel. Who's right? What do you think? Victor thinks that there's no chance of us having an extension with Pete. I think this kind of opens the door because as we've seen already in the offseason, it's a process, right? Everything's a process. Free agency, usually January and February are the extension months and we had to get past the arbitration, right? I think right now we could even see an Alvarez extension now.
That one I think is more likely than the Pete, to be honest, just because he's under more control, and so you can extend him past this year. Well, sorry, you can sign him to a long term deal without the risk of him having a walk, having to walk next year. With Pete, he's this is his walk year, and so they might try to see if they can get him to perform like players normally do in a walk year, or they just let him kind of hit free agency like they did Brandon Nimmo and sign him there. But yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
I would
I'm
love to
not
see the
I'm not
Francois
I'm
Alvarez.
not afraid of Pete going to free agency because we proved it with Nemo that if the player wants to stay here, we're going to try to keep him here. I'm not worried about him going to free agency. I'm just saying that this is the time that they're going to do it. Right after arbitration, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the month we might see a Pete extension. Here's wishful thinking because I do like Pete. I do think he needs to stay a Met. But, at the end of the day, I think you might be right. The Alvarez signing, the extension might be um, um, better. Not better. That's the wrong word. Might be a more feasible option right now if they do want to resign him. I mean, extend them. Keep saying resign them. If they do want to extend them because of what you said, years of control. We got Alvarez in, a bunch of years of control, and if we can get a couple more years out of him to trade security for those couple years, I think this is a great time to do it. We've seen other teams do it, and hopefully they believe enough in Alvarez that they do it. Because to me that kind of shows also the belief in Alvarez as your catcher. So
Yeah, this is one of those times that I want the Mets to kind of take a page out of the Braves playbook and extending these young guys for long term deals because you never see them kind of signing these arbitration deals just to get them along for the year. It's always they're extended for 5 more years, 3 more years, right when they either trade for a player or when a trade player proves their worth. Right when they come up. And that might be too far gone for Pete. But with Alvarez, there's still time to make a deal like that. And feelings aside, I know Pete might be hurt by that kind of deal, but at the end of the day, he's going to get paid what he's going to get paid, and I don't think he's going to care that much. His feelings aren't going to be that hurt for Alvarez being signed. I think he'll actually be happy for him and seeing that play better. And who knows? It might even help him make a decision in staying with the Mets, seeing what they're building here in New York, because winning is important for these guys. We got to remember, like we talked about, like something we can talk about too is the press conference yesterday from Luis Severino and Harrison Bader and David Stearns. Harrison Bader and Luis Severino talk about how much winning is important for them. You know, Harrison Bader obviously cares about the money, but their ultimate goal being on that field is to win ball games. And obviously, they want to get paid to do it. But if they see that a team is being built around them that can help them win a World Series, then they're more likely to sign with that team. We see it with the Dodgers this year. Teoscar Hernandez signing with them for a 1 year deal because he feels like they're more likely to win, and so he wants to be a part of that winning organization. Yamamoto probably the same thing. So yeah, that's my final thought on the Pete arbitration deal right now. I hope that we extend him, but and Alvarez for that matter. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let us know what you think. But let's go on to the press conference yesterday. It actually lasted a lot longer than I expected, just because it was Severino and Bader. I didn't expect it to be that long. I expected it to be a quick press conference. But I'm excited to have these guys on there. I know we kind of got a little bit of that. When Bader's on the field, Nimble's going to left. You know what I mean? So Bader's offense will dictate how much he's gonna play. So and so it's official. Nemo's on his way to left field, and I'm okay with that because Stearns talked about not in the press conference, but another a podcast, is that Gilbert, the one we talked about, right? We talked about Gilbert is starting in AAA. He's one step away from the majors. That means if he's ready, he might even compete in spring training for a spot. I don't think they'll bring him up right away, but if the offense isn't there with Bader or the other guys, guess what? We might see Gilbert as early as May. And so, but what do you think?
Yeah, this is time. This is Gilbert's time to prove his superstardom. We can see him being a good player for the Mets, and maybe even a top center fielder in the league as soon as he develops. But spring training is a time to prove your skills. We saw it happen with Pete Alonso in 2019 when he came up. He wasn't expected to play and start the season with the Mets, but he played so well that he forced the Mets' hand. And so I hope that Drew Gilbert does something like that and forces the Mets' hand. Even though we have Harrison Bader, I don't think, like we talked about, it's not going to matter. If Drew Gilbert wins that job, that he's going to win that job. This is not the Wilpon era. We can say again and again, we don't care how much we pay these guys. If there's a better player, we're going to put them on the field. But that being said, I am excited for Harrison Bader to play out in center field. It's two things that will dictate him being out there: his bat and his health. Because something that he emphasized in that press conference is that his focus this year is to stay healthy, and he's been plagued with a lot of injuries in the past, and he believes that the trainers and the staff that he's has around him is going to be able to keep him on the field. And if that's the case, then that's a great fit for center field and run prevention. A game that could get out of hand what really fast can be saved by efficient center fielders. And David Stearns talked about it. There's three guys out there that can play center field that you're going to have playing left, center, and right. And so that's just something that teams don't normally have. But at the end of the day, if he's playing well or not, I think he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be an everydayer, but he might take on that big role if say Gilbert doesn't come up and steal that job, because that's David Stern's philosophy. And it doesn't matter if he's hitting all that well, because we've seen guys get put towards the bottom of the lineup just for their glove, and so that could happen with Harrison Bader. And so I'm excited to see him play and to see what he can provide, because it might be that platoon role where he plays against lefties and Marte plays against righties, kind of deal. And who knows? There are a lot of guys on our team that can have really big bounce back seasons, such as Marte. And if that's the case, then we're in a really good spot in our outfield where we can shuffle around a lot of guys to play those positions, and the bats will come in as they fit. But moving on to Severino, a lot of the stuff he said was pretty much standard. It was funny, you saw him get upset, saying that there was a reporter out there that kind of asked a question about him making a mistake or I don't remember, but you saw the fire under him, and you saw him get upset, and you saw him talk about healthy competition in New York, and that's the reason he wants to stay in New York, and because that he feels the media is going to help push them. And one thing that both of these guys have in common is that they're both used to playing in New York, and so the media is not going to affect them. If anything, it might help them play even better. And you know, as long as Severino can stay healthy, David Stearns talked about how he can see him coming back to his 2019 form, and that would be amazing for the Mets, because you can slot him right in that number two hole where we have a hole in our second man in rotation, and really be an effective pitcher for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If we can get him back to form, yeah, he's definitely at minimum a number two. If his top level, number one even, if he's at his top level. So I'm really excited. I agree with you. I agree with Sevy. New York lets you know. They let you know when you're doing bad, but they also let you know when you're doing well. And so, for the people that get afraid that the teams boo and whatever, but when you do well, after Lindor got his little hiccups the first year or so, um, does anybody boo Lindor anymore? No,
He,
no, nobody
yeah,
boos Lindor, because at the end of the day, when you perform, when you show the toughness, because not last year, 2022, Lindor showed who he is, right? Played with that broken hand all year, almost all year. And so, he's earned the respect. He's even earned some, even if he struggles, he's earned because he's shown the toughness to play, right? So, and that's what the Met fans want. They want you guys to care about playing, care about winning, and perform. And so once you do that, you earn with the Mets fan. It's not this, this entitled philosophy where, hey, let's just be happy for these guys because they're playing. No, I want you to perform. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with Sevy. Sevy, that's one thing that I like, that Sevy wasn't scared of just saying, hey, you boo me when I do bad, I get it. But when I do well, I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna be all in. I'm gonna be all in, and I'm gonna enjoy it, because Severino knows it. Sebi was supposed to be the ace. It was him or DeGrom when they were coming up, right? Who was better? And so he knows the potential of what he can become in New York. So if he can get back to form, he knows what he can be. So I'm all for the pressure, because that shows your valor, right? You can handle the pressure. You can win World Series. So
Yeah.
that's what we want, and so
Yeah. And what's encouraging about him is that he still sees himself as a top 15 pitcher in the league. And he talked about how he just needs to get his a few health things right, and he can see himself being right back to form where he was in 2019. And so I think this is going to be a good change for Severino coming out of that Yankees organization. And we've seen it time again where pitchers just move to another organization and they're back to where they needed to be or back to who they could be, you
well,
know?
it happened with Monty. He left
Yeah.
the Bronx as well, and became a better pitcher. To the point that he's out there about to get paid. But on that news, I'm gonna change the subject on you. Yankees signed the pitcher. They signed a 2-year deal with Marcus Stroman,
Our boy.
and the suitors for Monty and Snell, to be honest with you, are dwindling. There was a report out there that the Yankees offered a 5-year deal to Snell for 30 million a year, and he turned it down because he wanted more money. And they turned around and signed Stroman. So the suitors are dwindling for these guys. And I'm talking about getting paid big money. Those suitors, the big market suitors are dwindling for these guys. I don't know about you. Maybe this opens the door for us to be signing Monty. On
Yeah,
a Mets friendly deal, not a Monty friendly deal.
I still don't see that happening, to be honest. And good luck to, well, not really good luck to Stroman. I hope we see him in a Subway Series, and yeah, so absolutely, um, kind of, poops the bed. So that'll be interesting to see every after his tenure here with the Mets. He did great, but I feel like it's a perfect fit for the Yankees and Stroman to get together. That just seems perfect. But back to Monty, I don't see that happening. To be honest, we have too many mid rotation guys that are just like Jordan Montgomery, and it seems like it's not really a good fit anymore. Before the Sean Manaea trade, that might have been a great fit. I mean, before the Sean Manaea acquisition, before the well, that was early, but before the Sean Manaea trade, I keep on saying trade acquisition, that would have been a good fit. But now that our kind of, I don't want to say our rotation is set because I don't think it is, and I hope it's not. But Jordan Montgomery is going to slide right into that 3 hole. And how many 3 hole pitchers do we have? You know, it just seems like we're filled with kind of average. And I don't want to say average because they're great. They're major league pitchers, but it just seems like we don't have an ace and a second ace on this team to kind of fill. And I don't think Jordan Montgomery will do that. I would have much rather had him than Sean Manaea because he provides the innings, and that's what the Mets ultimately need. But I see Jordan Montgomery going back to the Texas Rangers. I'm not really hopeful in that sense, and I've kind of moved on from it.
Well, I mean, I don't see him going back to the Rangers. Rangers aren't spending any money right now. They're stuck on a TV deal contract that they don't know what's going on, and I think that's why they've let a bunch of people go. With Monty, we wouldn't be signing him to be the ace. That's the whole point of it being a Mets friendly deal because the big time suitors are dwindling for him because if we sign Monty, it'd be for a longer term deal. And it's more of a security for our rotation because a lot of guys aren't going to be signed past next year. So that would be the benefit of signing Monty. Again, World Series champ Monty, right? So, and he was their ace. Obviously he's not an ace, but he was their ace at the time because everybody was hurt. So, and so, but for us, he'd slide right in there, right after Senga, as our number 2 if we sign him to a long-term deal. Sevy will be number 3. Sean Manaea, Quintana, and the one that would be out of the rotation would be Hauser. and we put him in the bullpen as that Williams kind of role, going in and out of the rotation. And so yeah, Monty's not an ace. No one's saying he's an ace, but if the price tag is coming down, I wouldn't mind seeing that pickup.
Yeah, and I wouldn't either. But we kind of filled up our pitching market and free agency. We've kind of made the acquisitions that we I think are willing, or at least I feel like David Stearns is done. And I don't think he's in the market for any pitchers anymore, or even in the free agent market in general. I mean, we see that a report that says that they're still willing to spend $10 million more, and that's what they have in the bank, and that's not going to get Monty. And so that's why I don't see it happening. Is because I don't think the Mets are willing to spend any more on pitching. Well, all right, let me pause there because David Stearns did say that he does want. There's always room for more pitching, but we've already talked about where they're going to get that pitching, and it's not from the free agent market. If he can get a team friendly deal, then that'd be awesome. But I think he's going to find a team friendly deal with someone else that is more desperate for pitching than. Well, we're pretty desperate, but not desperate enough to pick up another mid rotation piece. Like you said, the only upside to picking up Monty right now is the years. He will be he will be here longer than most of the guys that are here already. Most of the guys are off the payroll next year, and so he's going to be that one piece with Senga that'll last till next year if we sign him. That would be encouraging. But you still have other teams that are willing to spend the dollars to get Monty, and I don't think the Mets are one of them.
I don't know. Who are the teams? Yankees um, kind of set up their rotation. You're not giving Stroman that money to not have him pitch, and so I don't think the reunion. The Yankees, I think, are out on Monty. I don't think they were ever in. I think they were talking to Snell. Obviously, reports are out there that he had that contract. So you got Boston, but they're shedding salary, so I don't think they're giving him a big contract. You got the West Coast teams, but honestly, I don't see him going to the West Coast. His wife is in Boston, so I see him sticking around in the East Coast. And things change. Yeah, last week we were talking about trades because we thought that Monty was pricing himself out, but if things come back to the Mets side, things change. That 40-man roster, they'll knock somebody off at the tip of the end to give a room for for Monty if we sign him for a deal that's come back to where they want him to sign, right? Where they're willing to sign him. I'm not saying break the bank for Monty. That no way, because I wouldn't do that. But if he's coming back on a team friendly, not team friendly, but just uh upper mid of rotation kind of guy, I think I wouldn't mind seeing that because that's upper mid rotation guy. So that's 2, 3 kind of guy, not 3, 4, 2, 3 kind of guy. And so I wouldn't mind seeing it. But again, who knows? I do want to move on to the other rumors of us being in on Soler. I don't know if you saw that, but you know, things are intensifying with Soler, and looks like we're in on Soler. I thought they were, we talked about the last video. I thought we were just gonna do let Vientos get that spot if he loses out on the third base position, but it looks like we might be getting a DH.
Listen, I mean, Soler is great. I would be. Would Soler make the Mets better? Absolutely, yes. He would add power. He would add, he would fill the numbers that the Mets need. And we talked about it earlier in the podcast. The Mets need more home run hitters, and he's that home run hitter. But I would rather have after everything I said about Jordan Montgomery, I'd rather have an acquisition like that over Jorge Soler. And I know that it's not the same caliber of pitcher of player, but or contract even, but it's a matter of what the Mets need, and the Mets need pitching. They don't need another DH. They don't need a standalone DH, if even. Obviously, the league has changed, and that kind of position has made its way into a necessary role on every team. But I feel like the Mets have already filled up their kind of roster with bats that um, Soler doesn't make sense. And I it only makes sense to me if the Mets were to continue to be active in the trade market and trade away some of the players that they have to acquire pitching, because I think we talked about this last time. They have too many bats on their bench right now. They have too many bats on their 40 man, and Soler, although he would be a great addition to that, I don't think that the Mets are willing to just add another bat just for the sake of adding 40 more home runs a year. I think they'd look internally to kind of fill that.
Ah, nah. Hey, if they want to sign Soler, that's one of the names that we talked about early on in the offseason. And, it sounds like, it's kind of like Teoscar with the Dodgers. You talked about him wanting to be on a winner. No, it's not just that. It's that nobody was giving him the money that he wanted. And so, and if he's going to sign a 1 year deal, why not be with the Dodgers, right? Soler's kind of getting in that same boat. Soler wanted at least a 3 year deal. Looks like he's not going to get it. So if we can sign him for a 2 year deal, I don't care who we have. Soler's better than Vientos right now. You know what I mean? So sign him up, and he's not like this old guy like JD Martinez or Turner. You know, Turner JD Martinez one is only a DH. At least Soler can go fake it in left field.
But that would be completely against David Stern's philosophy.
Well, if it's for a game or two, just to give a guy a rest or two, and during a 162 game season, that's not going to hurt you if you do it a few times a year. And so that wouldn't go against the philosophy, because guess what? Soler's never going to see the field if in a playoff game. So or when it counts, he's just gonna get some guys off their feet for a game or two, and he can go fake it. But for the most part, he's going to DH, but he still gives the flexibility. With a JD Martinez, no flexibility. With a Justin Turner, he's just old. You know what I mean? So, I just don't think he has it anymore. I know others disagree, but with Soler, we got the guy that'll, like you said, give us home runs and protection for Pete. You know, let Pete shine. Because if Pete has protection, he's gonna shine. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about it. Let's do it. And guess what? All of a sudden, the report out, like you said, we only got $10 million to spend. Guess what? Whether we sign Monty, whether we sign Soler, that story is bogus, because all those guys are going to be more than $10 million, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? We're in on Soler, according to reports. So which report is right? That we're only going to spend 10 more million, or that we're in on Soler? So I wouldn't go on the reports, because at this time of the year, because things have been moving slow, people are just talking. They're just talking. You know what I mean? So, but if we do get a chance to sign Soler, let's do it. You know what I mean? 2 year deal. I'm expecting a 2 year deal if we do sign Soler. That's not a bad gig, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
I would much rather have him than JD Martinez and Justin Turner. I'll say that.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no way around that. He's a proven guy. He's not as old as those other guys, and he knows the East. He's already been with Atlanta, not with the Marlins, and if we sign him with the Mets, so just making his rounds around the East, and so let's do it. I'm all for it. I don't know what else to say because that's what I want to happen.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to pick up Jordan Montgomery and Jorge Soler. If those were the last two moves that we do this offseason, excluding trade talks or anything else, then we're looking good going into 2025. Much better than what we look like now. And there might be even fans that are looking to for the Mets to make playoffs and compete in the NL East. Because right now, all the talk is about the Phillies and the Braves being better than the Mets, but those two moves might put us over the edge of at least the Phillies. But the Braves are
Well,
still a powerhouse.
it'll put us at least competing.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll put us over the edge, but all we all we want to do is compete. We just want to get into the dance. If we get into the dance, who knows what happens? Obviously, you saw Arizona went to the World Series. Texas won it with half the rotation on the IL. So, all we got to do is get into the dance. And if this gets us in the dance, that's all I care about. So let's dance. But guys, we kind of disagreed a lot on this show. Let us know what you think. Victor's right. I'm right. Put in the comments. Remember, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification button. But before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
no, let's see some action from the Mets. We're talking about these moves and getting me excited. So let's see it. Let's see them done, either in the trade market or free agency. Let's just see something done. Shout out to Pete. Let's hope that we get him extended and hopefully Alvarez too. So let's do it.
All
Let's go
right,
Mets.
guys. Remember, like, subscribe, notification button, put your comments. Let's go, Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Peace.